All right, big breaking coming in right now. This is big news, big international update coming in that Mahinda Rajapaksa has resigned as the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. Now, this was expected. Now, officially, we can tell you that Mahinda Rajapaksa has resigned as the PM of Sri Lanka as protests take a violent turn in Sri Lanka. Big news coming there from Sri Lanka. The Prime Minister of the country has resigned. Now, this is coming after the protest and the worst financial crisis in the country since independence. Now we can tell you that after much pressure, after a lot of speculation as well, Sri Lanka's Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has resigned from the post. I would like to go straight across to Senior Executive Editor Abhishek. Abhishek, we were expecting such an announcement to come in, seeing the massive economic crisis and the unrest in the country and how unhappy the people of Sri Lanka were. And finally, now we know that the Prime Minister has offered his resignation.
Well, absolutely. So a nationwide curfew has been imposed across the country, Shivangi, and Mahinda Rajapaksa has resigned. In fact, just a while back, he tweeted saying that while emotions are running high in Lanka, I urge our general public to exercise restraint and remember that violence only begets violence. The economic crisis we are in needs an economic solution, which this administration is committed to resolving. Subsequent to this tweet, the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, who was earlier president, has resigned. The Rajapaksa family essentially controls the island nation, but we have seen how it has plunged into a deep economic mess. This essentially because of the debt that the Sri Lankan government has taken over the last few years, and also because the pandemic years led to a downfall in tourist economy, essentially the bread and butter of Sri Lanka. So I think the Rajapaksa is realizing that the opposition is not going to calm down. We have seen violence because people are not getting the basics of food and other amenities. Runaway inflation has caused a big hole in the foreign forex reserves of Sri Lanka. In fact, the government of India has helped to the tune of about $2 billion already in the last 1 month. And in a departure from the past, even the Tamil Nadu government has broad-based its support and assistance to Sri Lanka beyond the northern Tamil areas and covering the entire nation. In fact, Mahinda Rajapaksa had written to Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Stalin, thanking him for taking this very broad view. So I think this is a big development coming in with Mahinda Rajapaksa putting in his papers, paving the way for some kind of dialogue with the opposition, because the opposition was adamant that given the financial crisis that has been brought upon the nation, the Rajapaksas should be quitting, and beginning happening with Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa there resigning, Shivangi.
Right, Abhishek, I'll just stay on with us. We knew that the Sri Lankan citizens were showing their discontentment with the present government. They were struggling, standing in long queues just to acquire basic necessities such as food and medicines. Earlier, Mahinda Rajapaksa was hooted. He was catcalled by the angry public. And now, after so much of dissatisfaction by the government, now finally, the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka has quit as protests escalate, as Sri Lanka had imposed emergency in the nation, which had, of course, led to a lot of dissatisfaction. Because of the emergency, even the security forces could also not take any leave. So we are seeing a lot of developments happening there. We'll stay on this story after the short break. Coming up on the other